Yeah, it's definitely here that's like kind of fallen off. The only time it's like ever considered is like when there's a gyrocopter in the game, and then you can go
10
for the
seconds
counter and a
remaining.
gyro. But anytime a team's gonna pick up the gyrocopter, they almost always ban out the morph. So hence
Fight.
why we haven't really seen it. But yeah, it's going to be picked up by Undying here. A decent hero in lane against the Dragon Knight. You don't really have the threat of Dragon Tail just because he's never going to get on top of you. But even if it does, you have the Abaddon behind you. So yeah, it should be a sick lane here for Tomato. He should be able to farm pretty easily. And into the Sven, it's pretty easy. You can dodge out Stormhammer at pretty much any time, and you are super high armor. So you don't have to worry as much about the physical damage, but you still have to be careful about getting bursted. As long as you're playing with reasonable HP, you should be fine.
And that's where I can only imagine Team are going to look for a hero, possibly like the Invoker, like the Tiny. They need something now to burst out this Morphling because the Dragonite Stun, the Mirana Arrow, those aren't guarantees at this point. And if Sammy Boy's going in, if he's the one who's starting this fight on Tomato, once BKBs come out for both carries, that heavily favors the Morphling, where if you're not able to get him in that initial burst, he's going to kite you out. He has the natural tools to really wait around in those backlines in the fight. And while there isn't a very obvious morph target right now, you have to be thinking that in the back of your mind. What are they going to pair with? Because if they wanted to, they could look for that type of hero in something coming from Bryle. And we have seen them swap it back and forth between Bryle and Tomato, I think once or twice before. But with how heavy the carry bans have been from Team, there are a lot of mid laners still available to both teams. And we've seen Ryoya with this early Viper. Again, it feels like it's going to be an IX Mike Viper, but they can always rely on it. They can always fall back. A hero that I would love to see, it's actually banned out for a second. I was going to
10
say the Wyvern,
seconds.
but it's just not available. I feel like it has to be something like the Tiny, though,
5
because right now,
seconds.
if you can't rely on your two reliable stuns because of that Abba pick, you need something coming from your mid laner. You need a sort of chaos factor coming from Ryoya.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Tiny was probably the best one. But now you're in a situation where a lot of the heroes that you would have liked to pick into this Morphling are pretty much gone. The big ones are Puck, Tiny. Um, I mean, you could potentially swap this up and put Dragon Knight into the mid lane, and then maybe pick a better off lane hero here that can try and lane a little bit better against the Morphling. But even then, you're pretty much just going to be playing like a tempo lineup at that point, right? Like DK, Sven, plus another offlane hero. You guys would have to take towers very quickly and try and close out this game before the Morphling becomes an issue. And I don't really see that working for TeamTeam. Like, you have a lot of D push on the side of
10
Undying.
seconds
So
remain.
they're kind of forcing your hand here a little bit. What mid lane options do they really
5
have here on the
seconds
side of
remain.
TeamTeam? Because it's starting to look pretty rough.
It's turn to bat.
Yeah, and looking at Undying, the issue with this Nyx Assassin, the big reason why we see it contested so heavily is because what mid laner would Ryoya want to play into Nyx Assassin? There are very few. You could say, oh, we could put him on the Death Prophet. Oh, there's a Nyx Assassin. Oh, we could want to put him on maybe that mid Monkey
10
King, or could want to
seconds.
flex him on one of these
9
B heroes, but
seconds.
it just doesn't feel fantastic. I was going to mention the Ember Spirit, another hero that was in the pool, because both of these lineups right now, aside from that Carapace lacking that really reliable stun, but really nothing that Relay is going to end up playing is going to feel fantastic. We still have that Bat Rider in the pool, but again, you're playing into Nyx Assassin. It
10
just feels like
seconds
with the heroes that
remain.
Undying have been able to pick up, no matter what Relay goes for, it's not going to feel good for them, and it's going to feel fantastic for the Undying side because they just go for the Invoker. They say, well, what are you going to want to play into our Nyx Darks here? There's not very much in the pool, and now with this Invoker, no matter what they end up going for on Ryoya, you're going to be
10
that little much slower
seconds.
because this Invoker, you get that EMP, you get that Tornado, you always burn his
5
mana, you slow down that
seconds.
farming style mid laner that we see so commonly nowadays, and you need something from Ryoya. You need that initiator because, again, you can't rely on your offlane, you can't rely on your 3-4. I'm feeling a little bit worried because this is a much different Undying than that previous series. They've really shored up their draft issues, and this is where Team having last pick, okay, they'll go for the Magnus, but it's Mag and Abaddon. You're always going to be able to save at least one target. These are going to have to be some crazy initiations. Otherwise, I feel like they're going to fall apart in these team fights.
All right, so Tomato does have the brand new Immortal. That thing is so sick. You'll guys see that on screen in just a second. I mean, mid mag is really good into the Invoker. You have the double cleave for Sven, which is pretty sick when it comes to farming. But the thing is when you have a core Magnus, you spend so much of the game prioritizing your own farm, getting the Echo Saber, getting the BKB, or going the Echo Saber Blink into the BKB, and It feels like you're just going to be going late game into a Morphling, like you said, who has an Abaddon behind him. And I don't think there's going to be a time here when Team are going to feel exceptionally strong.
10 seconds.
And they have to play so well in these lanes. If they do start to fall behind, it's so easy for Moon Meander to make plays on pretty much everyone. Of course, Brown needs to be careful. If he catches an arrow mid, he is just going to get skewered under tower. That's the sad part about this matchup. It's very easy for Rui to get kills if he has that third factor, but otherwise, Brow's going to slow you down. He's going to EMP you. He's going to make you buy possibly a little bit more regen than you otherwise. Thankfully, Ruya, once he casts that Empower on himself, doesn't matter that doesn't matter that he get all of his mana burn. Not really. He's always going to be able to walk to that small camp, but it's still an annoying factor that is going to slow him down. And you're right, you need pretty much 3 items before you can make plays in full confidence, especially playing versus the Nyx Assassin. We've seen this Mag versus Nyx Assassin before where sometimes your initiation just gets completely ruined because the Nyx is already on top of you. You don't have the sentries down, or you do get the play, but he gets the Carapace in your Shockwave, and you have to really be mindful with how you play this Mag, making it even harder because you look at the Abaddon, not even thinking about that, where if you do find that big triple 3-man RP and you're not getting that back on, you're not getting onto Saberlight or Dubu, in which Dubu is already able to save himself pretty reliably, you're going to have to be so clutch with those puddles from Mike. If Dubu is able to get those ultis off, I really feel like it's going to be majorly based around whether they can find the Abaddon, pop his ulti early, or get him before he pops it at all. Otherwise, these fights are going to drag on quite long, and that heavily favors Undying.
Absolutely. We're into game number 2 here. For those of you who are just tuning in, you're on the LoopBet Pro Series Season 7 on Beyond the Summit, and it's Team versus Undying. Now, some people who may not have expected it, Team did win game number 1 here. Kind of off the back of Undying trying some, let's just say experimenting, you know, picking that safe lane Pudge into Techies, Terrorblade, a Puck that just absolutely dominated. But, you know, we're back to a more standard Undying draft here. You know, Tomato on a safe lane Morphling, something we haven't really been able to see so far this game, or this tournament. But, my God, is that Immortal beautiful or what?
Yeah, you look like a Leviathan from that C game. I can't remember what it is offhand, but the arrow.
Arrow connects.
Saberlight.
They got him. Hold them down in place. They will be able to do a little bit of damage to the EMP, but first blood going the way of IX Mike here on his 5-position Viper. I mean, overall, you're pretty happy about that. The Dragon Tail arrow, of course, a fantastic setup. Abaddon, I guess, just wasn't close enough. Dubu's busy standing in some trees. Not there to keep his boy alive.
Yeah, and Team, they do use a lot of mana, and that's something that their heroes don't really have in Spade, but I think if they're able to get these 2 bounty runes, don't really care too much. I don't think Saberlight used any of his regen reactively as well, so all it is a death, and the gold does go to the Viper. Isn't going to matter too much, and you split the kill 5 ways, so it's not like you're going to propel anyone forward level-wise. Maybe you hit that level 2 a little bit sooner, but shouldn't really matter.
All right, see how these lanes play out. I'm excited to watch this safe lane here a little bit. You know, Sammy on his Sven versus the Darkseer. I'm curious as to how this is going to play out. Obviously, Saberlight's going to be constantly shoving in this lane with the Ion Shell, but Sammy, you just max cleave here, right? Like, you just don't care. You just start putting points in the cleave, or do you want to put more points in the Stormhammer?
I feel like you might want to save it just a little bit, but this is the problem of having a melee safe laner. You are a little bit tankier naturally than some of his ranged counterparts, but they're going to make a run for the wave, and they're doing a fantastic job playing with each other. Saberlight's very simply going to block the camp and force Mike to block his own camp, as well as Moon also just being able to steal some of this wave. And if you can get the pressure off of Saberlight, once Mike is out of mana, of course he has 3 mangoes, this is what the Nyx Assassin is geared for.
Stun.
Sammy's doing a real good job, though. Yeah.
They're going to get this
they
kill.
Got him.
Their rotation on over. Moon goes down. Now Mike going to tick down here, potentially Saberlight. You just have to be careful of, of these Ion Shells, but you don't have level 2 yet on this Darkseer, so no Surge is available.
Ooh, he kept
and
the
Mike
stacks up.
just going to orb walk him under the tower up to 4 stacks now. He's just going to salve up, walk away, and like you said, Sammy, a fantastic job controlling this wave, pulling it out from under his tower, and now it's exactly where he wants it. He's denying an entire wave of experience here to both of these enemy heroes while just farming up under his own tower.
And I believe now, yeah, the creep waves are going to meet. That's why Saberlight is going for the steal again. And unfortunately, Mike was forced to TP back to base, I believe, after the Impale landed. So they will get a little bit of a freebie. But Sammy is playing this perfectly right now. He's making sure to keep his creep wave alive. He's not letting Saberlight get away with too much. And that's where you will see Moon get the shell applied upon him. Wants to put some pressure onto Sammy Boy. But really, we don't see that much pressure coming out until it's level 2. And then top... actually,
he just sniped him.
Yeah.
He just sniped him at 0 HP when he was trying to go for a regen, maybe? Dragon Tail into arrow was the final damage, I guess. No, it wasn't. He didn't even get arrow. Yeah, he did. Okay, never mind.
He's saving a skill point in Dubu. He wants to possibly get a little bit trade heavy, but without Boots or the Orb of Venom, that's not going to feel fantastic either. So there's a lot less pressure put onto Flea, who didn't go for Boots himself. He has a really strange inventory. He's going for an Orb of Corrosion, I suppose.
Yeah.
But still, you should be able to punish him with this Abaddon. It should feel like Flea's getting run at in this lane, but they're falling behind a little bit for sure. And another arrow, and Dubu's out in front. Dubu.
He didn't miscoil him either. He's gonna lose his courier. Tomato just died twice in lane. Has to walk of shame back. Undying. Kind of crumbling right now, to be honest. And they're just gonna potentially apply more pressure here. If he can get the Dragon Tail onto Dubu, which Brax is looking for it. He connects. Level 2 arrow comes out. They're gonna get this kill. Brax does not care about taking the tower. Okay, you gotta care a little bit more now. Still has Fairy Fire, 5 wand charges, and a salve dropped off as well. I mean, this top lane could not be going better for Brax.
And we didn't get to see the first few waves, seeing if Dubu was jumping in front of those arrows to protect the range creeps, but that is really horribly played. You need to be standing in front of your Morphling. You can't just let the DK walk in front of a creep wave and then Flea has all the space in the world. That just felt like there was no pressure on him at all, and Tomato's finally back here, but still level 2 when your DK is about to hit level 4. Oh my goodness.
It is 6-0, by the way, at 4 minutes into the game. TeamTeam, you know, they were just hitting the gym last night, from what it seems, and getting the the rust worked off of the team. It's a brand new roster, kind of playing with a little bit of new, I don't know, some sort of new strategy they're working out. But I mean, they come in today, they're looking pretty dang good.
And now the beautiful thing about this Mirana is, even though they are getting some pretty nifty pulls off, Tomato has to farm them. He doesn't actually talk with his teammate either, so they're going to get the back end of that, but Flea is going to start farming up. Whenever your offlane ends up being successful because of the Mirana, Flea just places this ward on the high ground or places the ward somewhere to allow him to go to the enemy team's jungle and just starts arrowing creeps, and it's completely free. It's not like Brax is really under any kill threat in this lane, and Dubu, they get him off the shield. It's still level 1.
Yeah, they don't need to target Tomato now because obviously they know he's just going to get the shield off, but Tomato has no waveform either. This Orb of Corrosion is crushing them in the safe lane. He's down to 0 armor, now hitting the negative territory. If he's able to get an arrow
still
here.
Shot it?
No.
Okay, doesn't want to risk it. But look at the wave. They're completely zoned out, and then meanwhile bottom, Moon has to go for the trade onto Mike, but Sammy Boy is fine. He's got a Morbid Mouse coming out for him. He's taking all of the pressure from this Iron Shell lane completely fine. And mid lane's a draw.
6.
This is not a good setup for Undying.
I mean, it's not really even a draw. Ryoya will always out-farm the Invoker, right? Like, he's up in CS right now, but once he gets his bottle refilled, normally you would expect like a support to come back and refill bottle, but with the amount of fighting that's happening in these side lanes, it's just not a possibility. And yeah, I mean, this is a disaster so far. Even bottom lane right now, Gotrek comes out from Sammy. He's looking to take down Moon. One more auto attack is all he needs. A nice play there for the moment. Moon almost able to turn it around there onto Sammy, but they get the kill. Like you said, he's got the Morbid Mask. He's going to farm up some creeps very quickly here. Regen a lot of his health in the process.
And this is where you need to be concerned about how your early game has gone. When you have this Darkseer, really you don't feel comfortable until you have that second mana regeneration item, and there's just no gold on Saberlight. He's had such a bad time. He hasn't been able to get anything. They've played beautifully in this bottom lane, and being level 6 when both of your opponents are not even close, maybe Saberlight in a few, or in a level here is going to be level 6 now, but you look back top, and again, they find Dubu, who is now level-starved Abaddon, which means that they can continue to make these plays. A lot of times we see lineups run out of damage versus the Abba, but he's level 4. He's not giving you that much support. Okay, they got him bottom.
Yeah, they got active bottom, decided to go for a surge play, and they do manage to take down the Viper. Sammy also took a ton of damage as well. I'd expect some sort of salve to be delivered here for the Sven. Like, he can't really show in the lane at the moment. But yeah, like you said, they just keep punishing Tomato, or I'm sorry, Dubu here. And Tomato doesn't want to tank the arrow for him, and he just dies a second time. He's like, later, dude, I'm out. You are a level 3 Morphling into a level 6 Mirana and a level 6 DK. This tower is just dead.
Yeah, you can't play top, and who are you going to bring here? You have an Invoker in the mid lane. You don't have natural damage coming from him. He's going to come, maybe be annoying, but I don't think there's any shot that Brown makes this rotation to the top lane.
No chance.
In my head, I thought, okay, so if this bottom lane goes well, you put an Iron Shaw on Moon, and maybe he's the one to make the rotation, but everyone is just so far behind.
I mean, IX Mike's taking a lot of damage from Moon here bottom, but they're just going to pop the God Strength. The stun not going to be thrown by Sammy, though. The Surge will get him out, but you've lost top lane tower. It is a 3k gold advantage now here, just 8 minutes into the game. Undying, I guess, a little shaken from their last game.
And although you are being a little bit annoying, of course, you have those EMPs, you have those tornadoes landing onto Relay. A lot of his last hits are coming from that small camp still, and you're not slowing him down enough. And you do see him pulling ahead net worth-wise because that is all that Bryle can do. And you look at the lanes that Bryle can gank, it's a DK or it's a Sven. There's no good option for him. That's where we'll probably see him turn around for the Midas in just a few here, but we're seeing again Undying are playing for this much later timing than I don't think TeamTeam are gonna let him have it. And dude, we're just trying to get some wards down. There's just nothing you can do. They're always there to punish you.
Yeah. I mean, this is gonna be a super farmed Mirana. Flea in general is a very greedy 4 player. Like, we've talked about this multiple times, but when you have a start like this, he is 5-0-3, up to 3,000 net worth nearly here at 9 minutes. Bottom lane, Mike does tick down to the Nyx Assassin Saberlight combo. All right. And that's going to keep happening. You have the level 3 Ion Shell. He's about to hit level 7 here on Darkseer and get his 4th point. But Bryle is just trying to contest this Sven for CS in his jungle, slowing him down at least somewhat. Ward here up on the high ground is scouting Brax.
Tomato.
Dragon Tail into the arrow. A lot of damage here, but he did get the morph, and I don't think he can go down here on this morphling.
And they have a really good ward here to scout out when that play does happen, but you look at Rioya, who now has rotated to Tomato's jungle, and okay, they get Mike again. Mike's got to low. Mike's got to meet up with his team, yeah. You can't let that happen anymore.
He just needs to leave the tower. He is level 4 now. Like, he is the lowest level in the game, despite what, you know, happened bottom lane, which was very okay. They end up finding Tomato anyway. He pings out a ward. He's like, guys, they have something here.
It's just a skill shot from Flea. It was a very small committal. I think a shockwave coming in from Rioya.
No, it was literally only an arrow. That's it.
Literally, oh, that's so sad.
He was just walking up with low
sad
HP.
Morph game. And now Sammy Boy, he's putting pressure on your mid tower with the 10-minute carts, and Ryle, again, you can be annoying, but you can never really supply the damage to actually kill these heroes. You need to see that coming in from Saberlight, but their timing is so slow. They have to wait for such a long time before they can actually make these plays, and that's where they need to be annoying. They need to make these cute, tiny, little buying time plays for their team. And Moon, if they find really to be big,
he's gonna find Brax. Dragon Tail does come out. EMP on the mark as well. He has wand, but I don't know if he's gonna be able to survive this anyway. Yeah, no, the Ion Shell damage is just too much.
And that's what they got to do. They need to apply the pressure with the Nyx Assassin. You see Moon not greeting out either, going for that Aghanim Scepter build on himself. He wants that Blink Dagger first because he knows the situation that he's in. If he gives too much space, too much time over to the team side, they're going to hit that 20-25 minute mark hard where you are going to be just finishing up your first wave. And Tomato
just RPs. Oh no. You know, he thought he was safe. He's got these wards covering, but he's just not safe from the Mirana ulti as everyone on TeamTeam hide from the map for just a couple seconds. It's a disaster for this Morphling. I mean, I have seen players recover pretty incredibly on Morphlings in the past. Bottom lane, Nyx Assassin tries to make a play on a mic, but he just eats an arrow. Or I'm sorry, rather a Dragon Tail. Now with Dubu's rotation, they should be able to take down Brax. Moon not gonna go down either, so nice save. But in comes Sammy. Dragon Tail? Or I'm sorry, not Dragon Tail, the Storm Hammer into an arrow. Does end up catching Invoker on the backside, but Sammy's just getting crushed here by the damage from Saberlight. They turn around, they're gonna take down the Sven. You can't fight into the Darkseer anymore. He is too farmed. Somehow, Saberlight has managed to completely recover his game, and that's just the nature of Darkseer.
And Moon too, he's going for the kill on the flea. He will have to give it up, but you have given a lot of space. I really think it's the 3 deaths coming in from Mike after the fact where you were so successful in that lane. Of course, your earlier deaths don't matter as much. You're giving more supplies over to your Sven, but then you play completely into the hands. Rioya was already out of gas. They knew they had used the RP top, so that's why they look for the fight bottom, and they get baited just a little bit. And even Brax dying at the beginning of that engagement. We're seeing a much slower Dragon Knight, not having nearly as much net worth in that previous game, and wanting to go for this Blink Dagger. We're actually seeing him farming way slower, and despite his lane setup, I'm a little bit curious why he's slowed down as much. I think he's been running at his opponents just a little bit too much. These past 2 deaths have really slowed him down.
Yeah, this is a rough one for Brax for sure. I mean, last game he just went for an early Midas, knew he was not gonna like really get punished for doing so. He is gonna have to rely on the Empower from the Magnus here to like try and amplify his farm speed, because he has the 2 points Dragon Tail. He can't clear waves with the Breathe Fire, and at this point it's gonna end up being like Moon on the Mirana, or I'm sorry, Flea. I'm so used to Moon playing the Mirana. Flea on the Mirana. Just taking over as like the 3 position almost. Like he's on his way to a Yule Scepter. He'll probably out farm Brax at this point fairly soon.
And honestly, that was the hero that was missing with the initial play on the Moon, or onto the Nyx Assassin bottom. I guess it was Moon, but they had just the DK, just the Viper to start that all off, and it felt like Dubu was baiting his teammate just a little bit there. He waited so long to put the shield and the Mist Coil on that Nyx Assassin, but we're going to need something now coming from Rioya. He has to be the playmaker to set his team straight, because this Moon Meander Nyx Assassin is getting quite a lot done.
Yeah, mid lane, EMP Dragon Tail, just gonna, or EMP Tornado, sets up a lot of damage onto the DK, just burning all of his mana. Like, you have Spirit Vessel completed on the Invoker, which is really good against the side of TeamTeam, against 3 Strength Cores, who none of which want to rush the BKB. Like, we've seen the Blink actually already picked up on the Magnus. Instead of going for the Echo Saber, which is what we typically see Rioya do here, there's kind of swap the build around a little bit. Just like you said, he wants to be more active. But Brax, he's so far away from his Blink still. And where are we at on Sammy's Sven here? Does have the Mask of Madness, the Echo Saber, on his way to the BKB. So he'll have it pretty soon here.
And once BKBs are on the field, of course, when you're talking about BKBs in the carry matchup, you would think that on the other side, Tomato would also have a BKB around the same time, but that is not the case. He is still really having not a great time. Bottom of the core is right there next to Brax, but Brax is going to be able to do something with his gold in just a bit here, 200 away from that Blink Dagger, and then we might see him get a little bit more aggressive, but it really comes back to this Moon Meander Nyx Assassin that has been able to get so many plays done with really so little. It's just been Vendetta, Max Impale, and an Iron Shell from his boy Saberlight. And he's going again. They've had some great vision in this bottom lane.
They have a Sentry this time. Yeah. They will see Moon with the Sentry, and immediate D-Ward coming in from Dubu. He'll Sunstrike the high ground there. Counter deny there. Ooh. Very well played by Flea. He just pops the ult and runs. He's a little bit afraid, I guess. That's surprising.
And you look at mid as well, Mike is now playing a lot more defensively. He tried to keep that bottom tower alive for so long, feeding to his enemies just a little bit in the process, and that's where Flea has slowed down as well. While they're waiting for this Blink Dagger to be finished up by Brax, he's been the one not making the crazy plays anymore. He's been the one being the quiet, I don't want to feed guys, I'm 6-0-4, I want to put some pressure, and they've got a Glyph and they got to pull back mid.
Yeah, they punished the Abaddon there, obviously knowing he has no ultimate, and it's a very easy commitment for them. Just a Blink Skewer. Brax on the right side does get found. He's going to know there's a ward now. Loses all of his mana there, which is quite unfortunate, but they're diving for more in the mid lane. They take down Moose. Sammy now can just focus on this tier 1 tower, and Rioya, of course, still having this RP available. Looks like Undying cannot contest as a result.
and they just can't do anything. He has a DD bottled as well. Anyone who showed up would have died there, specifically Bryle. I think they were really looking for that Invoker, just didn't allow them to get that play. And unfortunately, Dubu not having the borrowed time, they definitely made that play knowing that it's a 60-second cooldown. You can afford to go for something that crazy. And even Ruyoya, knowing that the enemy team is going to reset, feels comfortable enough to push the wave and farm it right here. It feels like TeamTeam should be able to get a little bit more out of the map as they are hitting those timings finally. That this Nyx Assassin slowed down for just a few minutes, but finally there's stuff coming out, and that's where TeamTeam are really going to push onto the Undying side of the map.
Yeah. I really do appreciate that they have been focusing a little bit on giving Braxton power so that he can try and, you know, be relevant here from the off lane. And now he's recovering a little bit. I mean, he's still definitely the lowest of the cores, but didn't go for the Midas this game, just has this blink. I'm assuming after this, it's just going to be the BKB. There's no reason probably to go for anything else at this point.
Yeah, once he gets that BKB, he will be able to sort of play Dota. Doesn't need to worry about the Invoker spells. If he gets caught in a tornado, that's nightmare fuel for him, especially if he gets all of his mana burned. But this is where the game does get a little bit more complicated from TeamTeam. It was much easier to initiate if they got these blinks just a little bit earlier, and they're going for a Tomato, but I don't think they realize how close his teammates are. They need to kill him right now, but yeah, they have to run.
Yeah. Sentry gets dropped. Flea gets dusted, leaps the other way. Dude, this guy, unreal.
Oh.
Trying to just make some space, it seems. He doesn't have any leap charges left as a result of the gank, but can't imagine he survives this. No way. I can't imagine he survives this.
Oh, no.
Okay.
He had to choose one of his spells, and unfortunately, they used both the Waveform and the Sunstrike to get vision. I don't think Tomato knew that his teammate could have given it to him, and
yeah,
that's a lot of space. You don't even dislodge Brax from that bottom lane. He just sat in the trees, bided his time, and unfortunately, you don't get to play onto Tomato. He does have that Lincoln Sphere now, but doesn't matter. That is 5 heroes committed to relatively nothing, and very similar to the previous game, TeamTeam are playing the map just a little bit more efficiently than you, and they have the tools to do so. And Sammy Boy top.
Yeah,
this is a little bit scary here. If he right-clicks, he's gonna get stunned.
Yeah, there's nothing he can do. He's dead. This is just an easy setup from Saberlight. Drops the wall right on top of him.
Oh, mid. Oh, no.
Did he just RP the Dubu Abaddon?
He tried to RP him, and then Flea said, probably no, I can use him. They ended up using his own RP. Thankfully, he did end up committing the borrowed time regardless, but that is not the play you wanted from Rule. You wanted to see him maybe go for another kill. If he was synced up with Tomato bottom, maybe they were able to get something going, and Moon playing where they know they don't have vision. This is a little bit wild, but they don't have sentries, or they have one on Flea, but they don't place it, and Moon dodges a bullet, to be honest, but they're still going to be on the back foot now, and losing Sammy Boy top. He has his BKB now, so that play can't really happen again, but you're giving Undying a few ins here and there, and that's where if the game does go long enough, you are going to see all their heroes make that full recovery. You see Bryle with the Midas having it for at least 6 minutes by now, is going towards that Aghanim Scepter, and that's where you're going to see heroes dying immediately out of those impales. Cool.
Another impale set up here in the mid lane. Dragon Knight. Ooh, Tornado off the mark. EMP as well. Rack's just going to pop the ult, try and turn around, and they're going to pull Dubo underneath the tower. He does have the borrowed time this time around, but without a wall, a lot of the damage is going to be missing here on the side of Undying. Saberlight taking a ton from the Viper as well. A great Blink Dragon Tail once again to finish off the Abaddon, and now Sammy chasing after Saberlight, but he gets the Surge out. He's going to be fine.
And that is one of the best tools versus the Abaddon, is the fact that you can blink skewer him. You can really put him in a very compromising position, and they are going to go into the pit. I don't think Undying want to put up a fight here. If they get a little bit too close and they do feed, there's no blink dagger on the darks here.
He can go.
This is risky. He doesn't have blink. They need setup from the Tornado, I think, or Moon. Okay, here we go, Saberlight.
And they turn around the Dragon Tail into the Stormhammer. Darkseer's got to get brought down first. They get the kill. And a nice skewer on the backside from Aurelia, pulling into. Tomato has to leave. Out of spells though here on the side of TeamTeam. They bought back here on this Darkseer. You gotta back. You can't afford to get caught out. Saberlight surging in on the backside. Nice blink forward. Moon does catch a nice two-man stun. Meatball right on the money. Rioya skewering away, trying to keep himself alive, but Tomato in chase here on the Morphling, pulls them back.
And they're fighting everyone.
They are. Brax got to be careful. Stormhammer not going to be enough.
Oh, Moon. Okay.
They're going to find Brax as well. Tomato cleans him up. Double kill here for this Morphling, and now looking for the Sven as well. Skewer down to the low ground. They're going to be able to take down this Sven. Triple kill for the Morph.
Just beautifully played by Saberlight and Moon Meander, and unfortunately, Moon might actually get picked up here, but it felt like they were out of spells, but you had to commit that BKB so early because you were afraid of that vacuum wall play. You had to pop it on the Sven, but now, we've seen this before. You buy back right into the pit, and now this is going to be an Aegis over to Tomato. This is a lot of space that you're going to give over to the Morphling, and I think Sammy Boy just pulled the trigger a little bit too fast. If he held that BKB a little bit longer, then you have to be afraid. The Invoker doesn't have any defensive tools. They're just playing around the shield a little too well, and now Mike, they're continuing the feed train.
Yeah, he does have a Eul's
Gotta be
there.
careful, though.
Can try and turn around Ryoya with a blink and an RP. Is only going to find Dubu. Once again, a blink arrow catches the Darkseer on the backside, and maybe they can find that kill. They drop the RP. They need to get him. They get him. Dubu. Gonna be forced to borrow time. Gonna go down to Brax here. Really well played. They at least get 2 counter kills, and they managed to defend their top tier 1 tower as well.
And I think Undying, they are playing, they were into their vision. They weren't able to get those D wards. Instead, they were focused more on the dive before, but Ryoya.
Yeah, gonna get caught once
They have
again.
enough gas here.
No Spirit Vessel charge means Ryoya might be able to live. Nice skewer out. Moon continuing the chase. Tornado as well. Blink Dragon Tail on the backside. It's Brax's turn to enter the fight. Arrow doesn't connect. But they should be able to bring down Moon here on this Nyx Assassin. Actually, he's got a blink in 3. Oh no, it got refreshed just in time. That dot from the Dragon Knight, able to keep that blink on cooldown. And again, another kill going the way of TeamTeam there.
I think Undying maybe overestimating their damage just a little bit. They're still waiting for a lot of levels on these heroes, and without that Darkseer, you really are missing a lot from your Nyx Assassin combo, and Tomato already making strides towards the bottom lane. He didn't want to get involved top, which is exactly right. I think Undying are just looking for a few too many plays there, and those plays would work out if they were in a slightly different scenario. They were just missing a few too many heroes, and TeamTeam are able to make that very fast response. Of course, a response that does pull everyone away from Tomato, so I don't think Undying, even though they are losing a few after the fact, are very upset because this is more time over for the Morphling, who now has a full Ethereal Blade.
Yeah, he's managed to farm with the E-Blade. The Lincoln Sphere, pretty obvious this game, just needs to protect himself from the DK stun, and yeah, this is a good itemization here from Tomato. He can now play pretty aggressive, and still with Aegis on his side for 2.5 minutes. They're going to be able to find the nice stun onto the Brax, initiate that one, and there you go. There's the Morphling. Sending it in, finding the first kill. Sammy drops that Godstrength, trying to bring down the Nyx, pops the BKB. They get the... He just crushed his Moon on the backside. The break preventing him from just getting that auto borrowed time. Nice vacuum there. He whiffs the RP. Now the chase continues as Tomato has his full kit available. Sammy, no more BKB. Ryoya's got to find something big here, but there's a great ice wall and a regular wall as well. But they pull back Bryle. He gets a deafening blast, able to push Sammy away. It's got to be the Sven that's doing the damage here, but he just pops that Ghost Walk, continuing to walk. Now Sammy laying into the Morphling here. I don't know if he has the damage. He puts down the Nether Toxin and he's able to walk away. The Age is still online, and Saberlight now surging, trying to get the distance. In comes the TP from Brax, hiding in the trees. They're gonna get the vision. The Dragon Tail just last second.
Ooh, and in that fight, it happened. Dubu got a little bit too close. He stepped his toe in the puddle, and it was a big crit coming in from Sammy Boy. And it happened. It was a nice Nether Toxin placed by IX Mike, but this Sentry really over here is so unfortunate. They didn't have vision to get the RP onto Saberlight to actually find him. They just ended up RPing those vacuum wall illusions, and what wasn't the worst case scenario, you lost so much control, and that's why that fight felt so even though Undying were down 2 members, because they lost Brax, they lost their stun, and they played footsies for so long, and now Sammy Boy gets caught completely isolated from his teammates. That is really bad, and now you have Bryle setting up top. I don't think he's going to be able to find any kills here, but if you're not able to find those quick, concise kills onto either Saberlight or the Invoker, you're still playing into an Aegis. That's the entire reason why Undying felt confident enough to go up to that high ground, is you want to play around the fact that you have these 2 lives on the Morphling, and they have to be cautious. They have to be very conscious about these initiations, because otherwise, that's the entire reason why this Abaddon was picked up. If they can make those initiations feel awful, they can slip out. These spells are getting harder and harder for TeamTeam to hit. That's the big problem with their lineup.
Yeah, and like the fact that they get Sammy there is just so massive, because Sammy has been able to keep himself atop the net worth, but here we are. I mean, it's Tomato Morphling. He's had a phenomenal recovery, level 18, closing on the Eye of Scotty, and now about to catch the Sven in the net worth. Aegis there does get reclaimed, but Tomato hasn't died since the laning stage. Like, he died the 4 times in lane. After that, you know, it's just been a pretty easy game for him. He hasn't really been punished, despite such a like net worth deficit early on. I mean, this game was up to like 7 or 8k gold advantage for TeamTeam, and right now it's about to swing back the other way. If it wasn't for this Mirana, TeamTeam would be probably dead even.
And that's where these items, this save is starting to come out from the Undying side. Dubu has a Holy Locket. He's working on his Force Staff. The BKB was finished up on Saberlight. And that's where you cannot botch your initiation. You need to go on these multiple targets. You've got some fantastic stuns, but if you're too single target, if you're focused on one person, they're going to get saved. They're going to get healed. We even see the Aeondus being built on Moon Meander. And once you have that item, nobody wants to build a Nullifier in this game. Nobody wants to go back for that item. And I like what Ryoy has done. He's gone for that Orchid, so that way he can try and punish this Morphling who hasn't looked for that BKB just yet. And that might be the punishment that we come seeing from the TeamTeam side, but at the same time, they need to be so good here. And, oh, Saberlight doesn't BKB it.
They're gonna be able to jump, but Sammy doesn't BKB either. Needs a whole Cataclysm combo. He's just dead. A huge RP from Ryoya, but guess what? You didn't catch the important heroes. Tomato still alive, as well as the Invoker Moon, trying to kite this out as much as possible, but a huge 2-man stun. They turn around with a meatball, cleaning him up one by one. Brax now gonna fall to the RP combo. Sammy going in, holding that BKB, thinking he would be fine. And quite the opposite, as TeamTeam just get completely wiped. The only survivor is the Mirana, with pretty much no damage really coming out from the side of TeamTeam. Like, other than getting the Darkseer initially off that RP, there's just nothing else there.
And it's really surprising from Sammy Boy. He walks it in. He has the Blink Dagger. He doesn't feel like he needs it. And then just the stun clipping him from the Nyx Assassin. They were playing in the dark. Ixmec tried to put up that ward, but they kited a little too far away from their vision, and now they're at least going to get Glyph from the Undying side. But other than that, they can definitely stick around, get more damage on this tier 3 tower. Well, Moon tried to blink into the arrow for the Carapace stun.
Yeah, he tried to Carapace it, but didn't get Carapace off in time.
Okay, they're going to go for the safe play. Just going to get the range tracks and then dip out, but that's completely fine. Saberlight takes the bottom wave, and unfortunately, you do end up losing this Darkseer. He wasn't able to pop his BKB, but it's the bigger mistake coming in from the Sven, where you pop everything, you don't get any of your spells off, and even Tomato, there was no threat of him getting RP'd. You had to go for the RP on all the targets on top of your Sven, but even that feels like it's too late, and because you had to go for that last second play, Dubu very simply sits there, purges it, helps Moon Meander out, and then getting that 2-man Carapace stun. I think with the Orchid, he's going to find a punish.
Darkseer runs into an arrow, trying to save the Nyx, and now he's all on his own. Sammy, however, nowhere nearby. There's going to be the back wall, the BKB. Maybe they can get the Invoker. They've got a target. They do find him on the backside. There's the Godstrike BKB fleet, able to finish him off, and Sammy looking for more. Moon, he bought back for this. The Blink, the Dragon Tail comes out, looking for this Darkseer, but saved by the Abaddon Moon. Again, these setups, you get the RP, but he dodges it on Tomato. Maybe you can take down the Darkseer, but he's just too damn strong. This Morphling continuing to look for more. Flea will TP out. No, gets pulled back by the vacuum, and that's going to be 4 heroes dead once again. Another ultra kill here for the Morphling.
And you wouldn't think they had 4 deaths at the beginning of the game. You wouldn't feel like anything has really stopped him. And you look at the stats, and we knew this coming into this game. As soon as BKBs were on the field, as soon as Sammy Boy is out of that BKB, his options are limited. His hands are tight. He can't stand in those fights. And now Tomato, they already got Glyph. If they don't have buybacks,
Tomato
this
might
is
just
going to be more
kill
damage.
Sammy.
Oh, no.
He's going to
He has the
continue
morph
to
in
chase.
1 second.
Oh, he has
Okay.
Blink. Very close.
But still, that's just how much burst damage, how much magic damage is coming out. And when you don't have that BKB again, you are going to get kited. You are going to get pulled through the ringer. And with those initiations, you can't afford to miss that RP. I don't even blame Rioya. He had the smart play, but you're not getting that much damage. With the build that he's gone for, there's no AC, there's no Daedalus. It's all in on this Sven. And if he's not hitting anyone, that is a disaster for Team. That's where Undying are really clawing it back. And now free Aegis on top of it, just because there's no way for Team to really go up towards their enemy opponents. It just feels like now we're getting to the situation where Undying are really spiraling this Nyx Assassin, or rather this Morphling, into a position where Sammy Boy, he has to find the backline, he has to find the initiation, but it's already so difficult playing into the Abba Nyx. I think these problems are really starting to show themselves, and now Tomato, he does have to play the siege game with his opponents alive, but you have a full Scotty and 1,000 gold. This is not a good situation.
Moon finds the Viper here. Able to hold him in place. Saberlight with the vacuum pulling him back. Normal punch. Arrow does connect, but I mean, they're just falling apart here on Team. And the other thing, Tomato picks up the shard from that, so he now has that increased stun duration on the adaptive strike and the multi-shot from it. So Arrow here does catch Tomato. They're able to break the Lincolns into the Dragon Tail. They're going to get the first life of the Morphling. Dubu was just not ready for that. Aegis being taken, but no more aggression really from Team. They know they can't kill this Morph twice.
Yeah, and did get a little bit greedy. Wasn't even sitting that high HP-wise on the Morphling, but
Looking for the DK.
the normal punch. That's a BKB.
Brilliant. Pulls 2 back into the base. You didn't really think Moon was there, but they turn around with just a stun Cataclysm. And now your Magnus is dead. A big part of your team fight. Sven holding the BKB.
Oh,
He's going to regret it. He has buyback.
He's got buy.
Yeah, he dies there knowing he has buyback rather than wasting the BKB. They smoke up immediately. They've got to find a big catch here like you're talking about, but without the Magnus, I don't know what it's going to be. Maybe you get Dubu, but Moonmeander comes in, soaks it up, and now Morphling just shredding this Sven. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's it.
GG comes out, and Undying take a pretty convincing game here against Team, despite being down what was like 12-2 in the first 10 minutes, maybe less.
Yeah, and I think they just pulled back on the pressure too far. I think they didn't sync up nearly nice enough. They wanted to play as much of the map as they were, and it felt like they were able to encapsulate more. It felt like Undying, they didn't have the tools to flash farm. They had to really work for all of the farm they were getting, but just Moon holding down the fort pretty much the entire game. It felt like he was the sole player who was able to make plays, who was able to take that advantage that, again, it feels like Mike gave away. It feels like if he was able to cut and run from that bottom tower a little bit sooner, you very simply say, okay, they're going to get my bottom tower no matter what. Can anybody come down here? If nobody can come down here, we're going to make the play mid. I felt like both him and Brax didn't have a game. I felt like they were the ones, well, they had that successful early game. They weren't able to snowball it nearly as hard, and we take a look at Brax's blink timing. He still, despite his laning stage, didn't get it around that 16-17 minute mark, and while that isn't abnormal for a DK, with the start he had, I really felt like he could have put the gas on harder. He could have been punishing way more this Morphling, this Invoker, and instead they never really found that true initiation. They were always getting scouted out again by this Nyx Assassin, and it's a very difficult lineup for Team to execute once Undying get those levels, get those items, and really Undying, once they have those 4 steps, they have those blinks, they have those Aeon discs, it's impossible for this Sven unless you get those 6 Stormhammers, unless you get those multi-man RPs, and they just never found anything that big.
Yeah, I mean, it started out really good for Team, but they just did not have the ability to progress. And I think a lot of this, like you said, does come down to Moon. He played an incredible game on the Nyx Assassin, just being enabled by the Darkseer. It's one of the reasons we see Nyx banned out in nearly every game, especially with the combination of the Darkseer, like letting both through. Definitely seemed to backfire. I mean, the lane went pretty well for them, honestly, bottom, right, with the 5-position Viper, and they were able to get Sammy online fairly early, but the late game potential is just not there for the side of TeamTeam, and Undying knew this. They kept their cool, and they close out this series 1-1, taking their first loss, which is still very surprising, but it's a big day for TeamTeam. Getting that draw actually helps them out quite a bit. But it's the first of 4 series. We got a lot of games here today. Our next series that we have coming up is a spicy one. We got Beast Coast up against 4 Zoomers. Really excited to watch this. Most of us might refer to Beast Coast as Draw Coast right now, as they have currently drawn every single series that they have played. So maybe they'll go 2-0. Maybe they'll draw again. Maybe they get 0-2. We'll find out. So stay tuned to everybody. We'll be back after just a little bit of a break here on the Loopet Pro Series Season 7 with Beast Coast and 4 Zoomers. See you in a bit.